Hello everyone, and this is finally my first video from the orcs series. So I'll be doing a full army of orcs, and I thought it would be fun to start with Daca copters. I personally really like these models. I think they're super cool looking, and I've painted this one off screen, and I've added the acrylic stem to it. So in this episode, we are going to do the same thing to one of these models, and that's going to be the first episode in the Orc series, and then we're going to do second episode for the remaining copter. But I thought it would make sense for me to do this off screen first so that I can talk on what I'm going to do with these helicopters. It's really hard to paint, video, and talk at the same time, so if I do some voiceovers, I prefer not to. I prefer to do live, but we'll see. But overall, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna first, well, they're already primed with black. I bought these secondhand, so they're primed by someone else, but they're primed black, and I actually think priming orcs with black makes a lot of sense, since you have all these intricate mechanical details. We all know that orcs technology is like, you know, scrambled up together from just mashed up pieces, whatever they can find, and then it just works. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cover this with some metallic, then we're gonna do some gold, and later we're gonna add all the colors. Painting the actual orc was the hardest, especially his body. You know, you would think his arm and his face was pretty hard, and it was, but it wasn't as challenging as painting back here, you know, basically behind the seat right there. So it's you know, it's it was a little hard to grasp. Now the stem is an acrylic stem. It's a 4mm, I believe. I'll attach the link to Amazon where I bought this. I bought like 15 of them for $9 or $10, something like that. And this is basically what I'm going for, because the model that's done by Games Workshop has this you know, stem already pre-made, and I'm just not too crazy with how that looks. I think this is gonna look a lot better, a lot cleaner, and my plan is to fill the base right here with epoxy, and then I'm gonna use this existing piece and glue that on. Now I guess I don't really have to. I can just glue this on and use the terrain, but I really haven't decided what I'm gonna do with the base. That's gonna be in a separate video. In this video, we're just gonna concentrate on the helicopters themselves and on the stem. So let's get into the video. We're gonna start by painting the helicopter itself, and later we'll move on to the stem. I decided to paint this helicopter for you guys first. I really like how this looks. This is an awesome model. Love how he has a tanker here and a flamethrower, a big bolter pistol. I think he even has a... No, he doesn't have a scarf. He has a set of goggles. I don't know. Yeah, he's got goggles and he's screaming. So this is a pretty cool model out of the three. I think definitely worth painting on screen for you guys. So we're gonna start by painting the whole thing with silver, or, you know, bronze. Actually, I'm gonna show you the paint that I'll be using. So we went with Citadel, and first we're gonna start off by using Iron Hands steel, and we're gonna do some accents with Storm Host Silver. Yeah, Storm Host Silver. So these two are gonna be first. Later we're gonna move on to the metallic. I just decided to go with this paint. You can use whatever you like. Had a real mishap with this. I spilled it and make a huge mess on my desk, so it's a little thicker now, but it should work nevertheless the same. And so those are the three paints that we're gonna use for this part of the project. We'll also attach this as we move forward. I've actually attached this part to this helicopter first, and then I've painted it, on it. But since this piece is detached from this helicopter, I think it's a good opportunity to get all the details, and especially the orc's face, to get his face. I'm not gonna have to work around the propeller, so yeah, let's get to it. So, glass of water, paper towels, and the brush I'm using for now is going to be number 8 flat, which is going to be really good for making these huge strokes, kind of like give the whole thing volume. We're going to start with obviously the background, and then we're going to work our way into the foreground. So let's zoom in for you guys. Okay. So let's start with the iron hands. Now, as I mentioned, it's I'm trying to talk and paint at the same time. It would be fun to listen to something while painting, but I'm just not sure about listening to Warhammer while painting. So now this is a pretty generous amount, I would say. You can also thin it out a little bit on a paper towel, so it's not as wet. You know, you can kind of like dry brush it. But we're gonna start off by doing this components and try to kind of like work it into the metal. Into the metal components. And it's nice, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, that these models are black, or they have been primed black, because it gives some extra details. Now, I'm not trying to cover this completely. I'm just trying to see how I totally missed this part. That's kind of what I'm trying to just do, really, brush strokes and try to have this covered somewhat, but not fully. And I think this is a good strategy for now, because it's going to bring out some of the details that are hard to see right now, but it's going to give it some light. So let's give some more paint. I know in my first video that I ever uploaded a while ago, at this point, I wanted to paint Imperial Fists, and I still want to paint them. As a matter of fact, when you go to my YouTube page, I've posted a while ago, boxes of Space Marines that I have purchased, and I still have them, but I've been going through some changes slightly with work and moving and such, so doing this wasn't necessarily a priority for me. But we're gonna just go ahead and I love painting this in this very rush way because it's imperfect. And I always thought painting orcs was going to be, hard, because there's so much detail to these models. But the beautiful thing about painting orcs is that because they're very you know, their technology is very scrap oriented. It's very forgiving into what you can get away with, and these models are very visually stimulating, so it's not really something that, you know, anybody's gonna pester you about. It's like, oh my god, I can't believe you missed this tiny detail on the Daca copter. But yeah, this is basically kind of the first coverage of this model, and this paint dries really fast. I can already grab some of this and you know, start painting other parts. I've got a little carried away over here. I put too much, but that's okay. I don't think it's that big of a problem. So we're gonna let this dry for a bit. We're gonna try to do these details in here. I'm gonna do his shoulder right quick. Okay. Yeah, let me just move this out of the way and go ahead and just wipe this down a little. I'm not sure why that paint was being so, there we go, it's much better. It's kind of what I like. Okay. So I feel pretty good with how this is looking right this minute. Now, when it comes to the orc itself, yeah, see, and then we're gonna get his shoulder right here. Okay. And then we're gonna kind of paint the bolter pistol. I'm sorry. You see, that's kind of what I was saying. It's hard to paint and talk and film at the same time, but I just painted the bolter on either side. So this whole thing right now, except for the orc itself, is covered with the Iron Hands gray or steel, Iron Hands steel. And yeah, I like how this looks. Gonna give it a minute to dry, and gonna wash. All right, so at this time I am gonna use war paint, fantastic, and this is the Paratrooper 10, so it's essentially light brown. We're gonna give that a good shake. Okay, and let me get a plate here, and I'm just gonna put some dab of the paint directly on the plate. I just have a regular kitchen plate here on the side that I'm gonna use. Now we're gonna switch brushes. I'm gonna use this one. It's also a flat with a little edge, and this is number 1. So I'm gonna dry brush right now. A dry brush is a method where you have just ever so slightly saturated paint brush, and you try to make these very gentle strokes on the actual model. So you see how that has some brown on it now. We're gonna go and do that for the entire model. And in some areas we're gonna add more of the brown. I like using the brown with this steel color because it gives it that weather battlefield type of out of space effect, as if there's dusts and clouds and who knows what, and a lot of this will be trapped in some fashion on the actual vehicle itself. And obviously Warhammer being the dark grim, the conditions in which all this takes place are far less from perfect. And yeah, so yeah, there you go. This side is a little dirtier. This one is obviously haven't been dry brushed yet, but this is more, actually I feel kind of wrong for saying it's a dry brush. It's more like a weathering, really. What I'm doing here, dry brush is really subtle, and this is not subtle at all. I actually want to bring out some of these details. I definitely would like to hear feedback from you guys. I really enjoy reading comments, like to reply to comments. I loved a long time ago now, like 8 months ago, when I uploaded my first video, I really liked reading some of the people's comments and suggestions. And had one viewer ask me if I'm gonna do Dark Angels, and I'm definitely gonna do Space Marines. I said I was gonna do Imperial Fists, and I still want to, because I just like yellow. I like the color yellow, and Imperial Fists are all yellow. And I think they're a really cool chapter overall. I do like the Iron Warriors as well, and Salamanders, but you can only have so many chapters. There's you can't collect them all. Yes. Let's zoom out a little bit. So yeah, this is kind of the effects that we're going for. So believe it or not, this is how I started off this model, the previous model that I showed you. This one right here. I went through the same exact steps, and that's where we're going with this. Now, this model, I wouldn't say it's 100% finished. I still need to do decals. I feel like I can definitely do more cool stuff here. But overall, I am thinking about taking this to my local game shop and try to play a game with these guys, And I have a lot more orcs to paint. So I don't want to, be one of those guys that, always wants to play Warhammer, always wants to paint them, but never does, never gets around to it. So I'm just gonna run through this as best as I can, but also, in a relatively timely manner. Okay. I'm gonna move this over here. So this is it. This is stage 2 of painting this model. Now we're going to move on to the gold. And the gold is a fun one. I love painting stuff with gold. We are going to do yet again the same sort of concept, but we're going to be a lot more selective about it. So when I think of some of this being gold, has to do with heat, right? So think of it like heating up a pipe or something. So we're gonna do this part for sure. We're gonna do some of the gold on the tank and the teeth. like this. So this is gonna be gold, or goldish color. Definitely up here, which I guess is like a rocket engine or something. We're gonna do the piping around it, and this top of the helicopter. And really, I don't think there's a right or wrong way of doing this. One of the things that I fell into when I was doing Warhammer miniatures for the first time was that I tried to, you know, make these models just like the box, or you know, something to that effect. And you just make those models the way you like them, you know. Kind of think of it like a Bob Ross approach, you know. So I think that is the best. You're gonna have the most fun doing this, because this hobby is a little frustrating sometimes, especially with the building and painting part of it. It's very time consuming and very you know, detail oriented, and I can totally understand that, especially if you're younger and you just, you know, you want to go and play the game. You don't want to stare at the blank model. And I've seen some people at my local shop who just did not paint their models whatsoever. They just, it looked like they spray painted the whole thing solid red color, like they were playing the Forces of Chaos, and they were just totally painting the whole thing solid red. And you know what, like, that's okay, I suppose, but I just don't feel too great about doing that. It's not my personality. I wouldn't be cool with it. It would just bother me personally to have models that reflect, you know, that I'm just not putting that much care into it. But that's just me, you know. Everybody, like I said, paint your models the way you like. This YouTube channel is just kind of me doing it so that, you know, I have somebody to share this with, and you know, people to talk to. I really like hearing from everyone, or whoever ran across, especially if you're new to the hobby. I'd like to know how you got into it. I assume that, especially nowadays, a lot of people got into this hobby because of Space Marine 2. And I've been, it's funny because it's over a year now and I still haven't finished the campaign. Alright, so I think I've added a little more gold than I wanted to, but that's okay, because we are going to do the silver now. So we did the brown, we did the iron hands, we did the gold, and now we're going with the silver. And we are going to brighten this up by a lot. So I feel that this is really going to bring out the model in a way that it's going to make it look good. Alright, so I'm going to start with the propeller, making that nice and bright, nice and shiny, right? And it's you know, painting Warhammer is kind of like painting a painting, or working in Photoshop or something. You layer, and every top layer brings out the bottom layer, and you really don't know what the result is going to be, especially for painting, what the end result is going to be until you're done and you look at it from a distance. I was definitely really into making art at one point, and still am, just don't have as much time for it as I like to. But yeah, having done some art in the past, I can tell you that layering does magic for painting. So you will get the best results with layering, because especially with something like this where there's so much detail, there's so much opportunity for you to go and make it your own. You know, whereas like we are somewhat covering this gold, you see, and it's not gonna be perfectly covered, but we don't want that. We don't want the gold to be covered, and we definitely don't want the silver to be so prominent, right? We're gonna keep more gold up here and in the center, but we're just gonna dry brush it some to give that a little more texture. And I like to pause sometimes and look at it and kind of think about where would I like to add more, right? Or less, or maybe just a certain part of the model just looks good and doesn't need to be messed with. So let me go ahead and pause here for a minute. I'm gonna give the model some time to dry, my brush too, and okay, so we have done 3 layers so far, and by looking at this, you can definitely see a lot of the gold, you can see the silver, the brown is showing in some areas, but not as much as I would like, maybe. I'm really overall happy with this. I think that we are getting the same effect right here, you see. Now the body on the previous one is a little more metallic. This is more brass. But the way I think it makes sense to paint orc models is that they shouldn't be uniform, you know, because orcs are just so cool. Like every piece of technology that they make is strictly unique, and I think that's what's so fun about painting them, is that no the same piece of machinery is going to be the same. Now we're still going to add the red because the red ones go faster, and I was thinking about adding some blue, you know, to give them a little bit of luck, speed and luck. That's what we need, right? That's what we need with our orc army. Now let's see what we're gonna do next. I think we are going to paint the orc body. So what I'm gonna do is use this leather brown war paint, fantastic. These are really good. I really like them. I'm not a professional painter. I'm not like a commission artist or anything like that for Warhammer. So I really don't know what best paints are, and I don't think it matters all that much, especially if you're just a beginner like me. I've done Warhammer painting back in 2012, and now just getting back into it. It's a really relaxing hobby. So let's get to this. So the brown. So we're gonna try to paint his body, right? And we're gonna give some of this detail. Now painting his face is gonna be one heck of a challenge. But let's start somewhere. Let's be brave and take the plunge, right? Now, my arms are probably gonna be super shaky, so please forgive me. But these are not so easy to paint. They're very small. Not as small as the actual boys or like the individual soldiers, like the Space Marines. Something like a dreadnought is probably easier to paint, I'm really looking forward to painting a dreadnought. So we are going to paint this brown. Now I don't know what an orc flight suit is. I don't even know if they have one. I would assume they just get on the copter, but for the sake of my army and for the sake of the tutorial, we're gonna try to paint him as best as we can. So it's kind of what we're doing here. Now painting the back, the actual back of the orc is definitely challenging. What I do is I put it face down like this, so the front of the copter is facing down, and that kind of gives me a way to wedge the paintbrush in there. And to be honest with you, it's just kind of like a guessing game. See, it's when I'm done painting this, I am gonna bring it up to the camera so you can see, but it's not necessarily very easy to film. See, the back is somewhat painted. I just now looking at this, I noticed he has a belt, and I kind of started painting that, but we actually we're just gonna continue with the brown, and we're gonna go past his belt, and we're gonna go onto his leg. So yeah. Okay. Now, really fun thing to do after painting this brown is to go over with like some kind of skin tone color, or maybe some black. I'm sorry, constantly have to be mindful that I'm filming. Let me know how I did doing a live paint and live commentary, because I definitely like to know, you know, should I do a voiceover or should I just continue with this type of format? Really looking forward to a feedback from you guys, good or bad. I mean, YouTube is not something that I do for money. It's just fun, and I enjoy watching YouTube a lot. I probably watch more YouTube than I should, but yeah. So this is where we are so far. We are going to go in there like this. And I'm thinking here quick. Sorry guys. Yeah, so this is, oh my gosh. And up like this. And up this way. Alright. Alright, so here we have our orc. And we're definitely gonna paint the front. Hello guys, so here we are back. This footage is kind of out of place because when I was painting the orc, and I was painting him green, obviously, them being green screens, my file basically got lost or corrupted or something, and I can't get it back. I'm a little upset about that, but essentially this is the end result for our paint tutorial. I will get around to painting an orc again. I'll have many more I'll have obviously one more Daca copter, so that's going to be a video. So there's going to be painting the orc. Painting the orc was really hard, but at the same time, not too challenging. It's easier than what you would think, but it's not easy per se. I think that's a fair way of putting it. I think it turned out okay. My current video setup is not great. I'm hoping that my video and audio was okay for you guys. I hope that this video was quite entertaining for you. It's gone over 30 minutes, I'm sure. So if you enjoyed this, please stay tuned when we paint the next model and obviously finish this model. And then once we have all these models painted, we're gonna do a video where I'm gonna create bases for them, and I'm gonna obviously add the stem for all of these, which is the acrylic stem. That's the stem that I think will look nice. By default, by Games Workshop, these models come with like a prefabricated stem, and I'm not a big fan of that, but I might keep the terrain. The terrain looks all right. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you back on the next one.